Serena Abdelmessi, Lebanese systemic coach between both Middle East and Europe. Alain Cardon.
Also, not really French, but French national. Born in North Africa, raised in Egypt, educated in the United States, and I'm a master certified coach for the International Coach Federation.
So we're both the third culture generation kids.
Yes.
So Alain, for a lot of people, coaching is just a generic term today.
Yes.
What is really about coaching today that it is different?
Well, it's interesting almost to give a generic context for a generic question. In other words, we could say, this is my more systemic view on the profession. I think that people who see coaching as a generic profession or a generic term that applies to a very vague sort of development are positioning coaching in the digital revolution context. In other words, if you're younger and part of the digital revolution culture, or the informational revolution culture, or what is important today is to have direct peer relationships that go beyond your normal circle. In other words, you can connect with people all over the world. And the world is seen as a playground for peers. So hierarchy disappears. The power of expertise also disappears because you can Google anything you want and get information when you need it, so you don't have to memorize information. It liberates a lot of brain power for immediate reactivity. Which allows a lot of emerging solutions to come depending on what's happening now. I'm defining both criteria of what coaching is about as a profession and what the digital revolution is creating or facilitating in today's world. So basically what's different about coaching and why it's perceived as something very generic is coaching could be defined as a professional part, a profession that really fits in the digital revolution. In other words, it's not a way of accompanying people in the way it was done in the past. It's not psychological, it's not expertise, it's not hierarchical. So you don't accompany people and create relationships as a coach or as a child of the digital revolution, as would older professions or older people or older professional structures. So coaching is more, we could say, a type of startup type of relational context where you work with your client in a sort of partnership where you're actually working on yourself and learning a lot yourself while your client is learning, and you're learning together and so on. So it's really coaching is a creative context in which all the partners grow together. And so that's difficult to explain. I mean, in a generic way, when some people say, what is coaching? I don't understand. You can say, they're part of the older generation. It's hard for them to understand the dynamics behind emerging peer relationships that define the much younger generation.
Is it a viral type of system coming in?
You mean coaching?
Yes.
Well, in a way, we could say if you look at pure coaching as defined by international organizations such as the International Coach Federation and other, very focused on developing coaching professionals, and we could say that's the spearhead of coaching. But behind this, in every country, there's a lot of very local, more vague organizations that are more vaguely or less purist about coaching. And behind this, there's a lot of people that actually don't know any formal definition of a coaching relationship, but they'll say, I'm a sports coach, so I'm a coach, or I work with nutrition, so I'm a nutritionist coach, and so on. They'll add coach to what they did before, maybe as experts, or maybe as what relational professionals said as psychologists. They'll say, I'm a coach today. They feel coaching is going somewhere, but they haven't become real professionals in the spearhead of the movement. So we can say, on a very general way, coaching is just a movement. And people who say, what's coaching? Well, it's a movement. It's part of the digital revolution in a way. And at the very tip of the spearhead of what the profession is about, well, there are highly trained professionals that can really define coaching in a very specific way, but almost out of the movement.
It seems like there are hackers, paradigm hackers. So they're always, really accurate about, pinpointing what is changing right now and adapting to it. So it's a lot about maybe agility and being there at the moment.
Yeah, well, coaching accompanies that in clients, and coaches are supposed to be also doing it for themselves. They're almost independent hackers of the traditional systems. Yes.
I like that. Thank you, Alain.